Welcome back to my 7-part seller series, where in today's video, we are talking about the importance of pricing. In part 1, we talked about your listing photos. In part 2, we talked about the importance of getting your home ready on the inside for market. In part 3, we talked about curb appeal. In part 4, we talked about the importance of digital marketing. And now in part 5, we're talking about pricing, because at the end of the day, you can have the best home, best staging, best photos, best video, best marketing, but pricing is still a very important piece of the equation. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Okay, so here's the thing about pricing. You're gonna have to hang with me as we have this discussion, because I have run into sellers before that one of the biggest selling myths, we'll go ahead and just bust it right now, is when it comes to pricing, believing that you should price your home above what you want it to sell for to allow room for negotiation so that you can land at where you really want to be. That is a seller myth. That is actually not a strategy that works in your best interest, and we're going to be talking about that. But as we get into this pricing discussion, let's first look at this pricing pyramid. This comes from our real estate resource website called Keeping Current Matters. So this is actually a really great explanation and a really great visual for pricing your home. So if you take a look at this triangle, right through the middle of it, you're going to see a line that says market value. And so you can see where that line is, but then you can see a couple of hash marks. So right above it, you see plus 10%, and then you see plus 15% there at the top of the pyramid. And if you go below market value, you see the minus 10% and then the minus 15%. So this pyramid, what it is trying to explain is that if you were to list at market value, 60% of your buyer pool is going to come and see your home. So if you actually start to go above, so here's where you can start to see where that myth of pricing your home high to leave room for negotiation, this is where that starts to fall apart. Because if you price your home 10% over market value, that 60% buyer pool is actually going to decrease to only 30% of your potential buyers. And if you go up even higher to 15%, instead of 60% buyer pool, you're looking at a 10% buyer pool. Now, alternatively, if we look towards the bottom half of the pyramid, if you go 10% below market value, then you're looking at going from 60 to 75% of potential buyers. And then if you go to 15% below market value, you're opening yourself up to now a 90% buyer pool. So as we're looking at this pyramid, this is a really great rule of thumb to work off of. And here's the thing, I realized that saying something like, oh, I should list my house 10% below market value, I'm gonna be missing out on money. Here's what you need to know. The biggest thing when it comes to selling your home is getting as many people through the door as possible, because the more interest you have, the more likely that is to drive a better offer or the potential for multiple offers. So you do want to really consider pricing, because it is important. Because if you go through that, if you try to follow that myth of, oh, I need to price it high so that I leave room for negotiation so I can really land at X, you're cutting yourself off from other potential buyers. So you are decreasing that potential buyer pool, which there means less interest, which then again can lead to a lesser offer. A couple of other things to consider when it comes to pricing and even trying to price it above, right? So especially in our Nashville market, even though our market has changed from when it was white hot and homes could just come on the market and they had 25 offers all over asking in under 24 hours, that is not our market anymore. We are still in a strong market, but a far more normal and stabilized market. So pricing does matter, because even though homes aren't going necessarily in 24 hours, they still are not sitting on the market very long. And so if a home starts to accumulate more and more days on market because it's overpriced, people are going to continue to start to look and say, what's wrong with that house? Why is it not selling? Why is it overpriced? And then if you do get an offer that comes to the table, they really try to severely undercut you, which is again, not something that you want to deal with, because again, the best way to drive the best possible offer is to make sure that you have the most attention on your house, not a smaller amount of attention, because again, you really just have to think about what are your ultimate goals. Because here's the thing, you can absolutely price at market value, but sometimes if you go just under, people are saying, hey, hang on, this feels like a steal on this house, and then people flock, and then a lot of times that can drive multiple offers, which then does drive it over your original list price. Whereas if you go above, you're most likely going to have to do price reductions. You're most likely going to take an offer that's not as good as if you would have priced it right from the very get-go. So that's why that myth is not a really good rule of thumb to follow by any means. You really want to keep in mind this pricing pyramid when it comes to pricing your home. And so of course, here's the thing, most everybody, if it is your primary home, you have an emotional attachment to it, and I get it. But at the end of the day, comps need to be used to accurately price your home. No matter how much emotional value is tied up in the home, you still have to look at it from a number standpoint when it comes to pricing, because emotional value doesn't always translate to a true price, a higher value on the home, especially when we're looking at the eyes of another buyer or an appraiser, because that's the other piece of the puzzle. Is you always want to make sure that when you're pricing your home, it is not priced too high, because you do need to consider, if you have a buyer that comes through that is financed, they're most likely having an appraisal done. You want to make sure that the home appraises for what the contract price is, because otherwise there is the potential for the contract to fall apart. So when it comes to selling your home, pricing is a really important piece of this puzzle. And so that's where you sit down with the agent that you trust, you go over comps, you take a look at maybe what does your home that has this one that sold didn't. And so you start to look through that and really lean on your trusted real estate expert when it comes to pricing, so that you make sure that you price it right from the start, because pricing it right from the get-go is going to set you up far better for success than trying to price it high and then having to take some price reductions and hoping to land somewhere where you do. Ultimately, when you price it high, hoping to leave room for negotiation, you actually end up leaving money on the table versus if you priced it right from the get-go. So I hope this was helpful. If you are thinking about selling in the Middle Tennessee area, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. All of my contact information is below. My name is Caitlin Martin. I'll see you next time.